Okay.
7:01, Vice Mayor.
All right, good evening. I'm going to call the Dumfries Town Council meeting to order at 7:01. All right, roll call, please.
Councilman Brown. Councilman Fields.
Here.
Councilwoman Miles. Councilwoman Neville.
Present.
Councilman Pete.
Here.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Here,
Mayor Wood. Vice Mayor, you have a quorum.
thank you. All right, we'll do a moment of prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, in reviewing the minutes, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So,
Second. Thank you. It's been moved. It's been second.
question.
Yes. Councilman Fields?
I heard the clerk say that there's an amendment. So I'll withdraw my motion.
We need to do adoption of the agenda.
Oh, adoption of the agenda, excuse me.
On the agenda.
Okay. So for the adoption of the agenda, we have an amendment to the agenda. Mr. Town Manager.
Ma'am, thank you, Vice Mayor. Amendment to the agenda. The item is on the councilor's dais. We would like to add one introduction item for an ordinance to authorize a lease agreement for town-owned real estate and schedule that public hearing for May the 17th.
Okay, where will we add this to the agenda?
I would,
It will be item number 3, right before approval of minutes, Vice Mayor.
Okay,
I'm sorry, you're asking, I'm sorry. My mistake. It will be right after reports and presentations.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor, I reinstate my motion with the accepted amendments.
Thank you.
Vice
Second.
Mayor, my second remains.
Thank you. All right, the agenda has been motioned and approved and second.
Thank you.
Now we're looking to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motioned, it's been second. All right, clerk, do we have anyone signed up for citizen comment period?
Not tonight, Vice Mayor.
All right. Are there any citizens here who would like to speak who did not have an opportunity to sign up? Okay, we'll move forward with council comments. I'll start to my right. Councilman Pete?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the town meeting for May 3rd. Town manager and your staff, I want to start off by saying thank you for the excellent work that you guys have been putting forth in with the town. I also want to include the chief. Chief, I want to thank you for you and your staff. They've been doing an amazing job throughout the town. I do want to add on the amazing works that Officer Torres, Sergeant McCullum, Officer Robinson, and Officer Sweet had did. It was about a couple of weeks ago, maybe roughly a month, close to, and leading the way and supporting the convoy throughout to show Mr. Timothy McLean that which is 95 years old into our community and has been here well over 30 years into the Dumfries area. So I want to definitely thank you guys for bringing those, supporting the way on with that, because that was really like the biggest part of his enjoyment, the sirens going off and things like that. So I want to thank you guys for that. Also, mark the date of June the 4th, Councilwoman Sydney DeVille and myself will be hosting a community field day for the town from the hours of 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. We're looking to partnership in with Pillar Church. They're going to be in attendance and in support. We're looking to bring in the Dumfries Elementary School System. We're reaching out to Grand Park as well. We're going to have the food vendors there, some snow cones, some music for everyone to enjoy themselves, some vegan food also, some gluten-free food there. With a couple of activities that I'm not going to go over all of them, but I mentioned like a few. Tug of war. We're going to have a couple of the football organizations perform some football drills for the youth organization. We're going to have a martial art demonstration out there. If you want to get a massage that day, we're going to have the masseuse guys out there. Just wanted to throw a little bit out there, but do tune in to Councilwoman Sydney Neville's Facebook page, and myself, Councilman Sean Pete, to keep on with the updates as far as the community field day goes. That is all I have for this evening, Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I misstepped on the meeting minutes, but I will continue with the council comments and circle back to that. Is that okay? Okay, great. Thank you. Councilwoman Neville.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I echo Councilman Pete's sentiments. The Dumfries Field Day is going to be amazing. We're also going to have some double dutch, some music, some dancing. It's sure to be a good time, and extending magnitude of gratitude to our partner Pillar Church for making this magic happen for the people on June 4th. So as an educator, I would be remiss not to shout out my fellow educators, as it is Teacher Appreciation Week. This has been the most challenging year, and I think most teachers would echo that sentiment, even more challenging than last year. Please thank a teacher, even if it's just a simple email saying thank you. You don't have to spend a lot of money, and just let them know that they are appreciated. I remind parents to be a partner in your child's education. So happy Teacher Appreciation Week to my fellow teachers. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'd like to commend the team of students and staff at Forest Park High School that organized the Suicide Awareness Walk, and that takes place on May 7th, this Saturday. I'll be out of the country, I'll miss it, but that is a very purposeful event. With that, I want to point out the Suicide Prevention Lifeline number is 1-800-273-8255. It was last month I referenced and shared the presentation from the Community Foundation of Northern Virginia with their mental health data on our region alone. We had I believe it was 1.2 million, somewhere around that number, just in the Northern Virginia region. We have 2.5 million residents, 1.2 documented that they had some experience with a mental health concern recently. So please check on your friends, check on your family, be a good friend, and no matter what you're going through, remember that it does get better. Hang in there, it gets better. And that concludes my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Fields.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Glad everyone is out that can make it this evening. And guess what? Spring is in the air. We're happy to have spring here, and great things are going on in the community. Again, the event that Councilwoman Neville and Councilman Pete are having, I'm gonna add one to that. Got one coming up on June the 11th, myself, with the Stop the Violence event. I'm co-partnering with radio personality Chastity Smalls. We're going to have that June the 11th in Dumfries Shopping Center. Much of the same events that you all have going on with the jump rope, double dutch, car show. You know, I'm big into cars and love going to car shows. We're going to have a car show, so bring your cars, motorcycles, trucks out. We will have prizes and trophies and People's Choice Awards for that. Go-go band, but the theme is Stop the Violence. It'll be the 5th overall for Chastity Smalls organization, and the 2nd here in the town that I'm partnering up with her on. So Remember that date is going to be at the north end of Dumfries Shopping Plaza from 1 to 7 p.m. with the later times. There'll be a candlelight visual for the ones we've lost to violence and domestic violence especially. So we look forward to having a great spring into summer. School will be out soon, so get your kids prepared now for summer camps and summer activities. Our own Boys and Girls Club has a great list of summer activities that are coming up, so stay tuned for that. We may have more stuff to put out that's coming up here in the summer, which we usually do. You know, hopefully coming out of COVID good, we'll have more things and more activities for kids to do this summer. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. So I want to echo Councilwoman Neville's appreciation for teachers, as this is Teacher Appreciation Week. And the teachers have done a great job, and they have been on the front line of a pandemic, and they have continued to work when a lot of us have had the opportunity to not work. And I say opportunity for some of us and then displeasure for others, but they have been on the front line helping our students to get through this. So we absolutely send out our heartfelt gratitude to the teachers for all their hard work. It is also Municipal Clerks Week. And for that, I want to take a moment to recognize our very own Ms. Tangi Hill for her great work here in the town of Dumfries. Ms. Hill, you are appreciated. Thank you for all you do for us to keep us straight. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. This coming Sunday is Mother's Day, and it's also college graduation season. And if this is your season, congratulations to you. You've completed a milestone and you're on to the next chapter. I want to give a special shout out to my daughter, Taylor Nickerson, on her graduation from Old Dominion University with her bachelor's degree in finance. We made it. All right, so with that said, I'm going to circle back to my misstep with regard to the approval of the minutes. So what I need to do is actually do a vote on the approval for the minutes. All right, so it was motioned and it was second. So now we want to call for the vote. Am I right, Mr. Pandak? Okay, great.
Okay.
Is it appropriate to move this on the closed session meeting?
I'm sorry, what are you asking?
I see what you're saying.
There's a German here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, just for the order? Oh, yes. So the adjournment would happen after closed session. Yes, thank you for catching that.
Thank you.
Okay, so for the meeting minutes, Councilwoman Neville stepped off the dais. We need her vote for the meeting minutes to be approved. Okay, so I say we circle back to that. Is that okay? As long as we get it done by the end of the meeting? Okay, great. With that said, let's move into the reports and presentations. So this evening, we have an update on the school division budget and an overview of how the budget will impact the Dumfries Elementary and Grand Park schools. And for that, we have our Potomac school representative, Mr. Justin Wilkes. Mr. Justin Wilkes, and guest.
Thank you very much. I probably should put my glasses on. I do want to recognize Principal Granby from the Dumfries Elementary School. She will be giving, so we're going to give kind of more of a macro, micro kind of overview of the budget. We're very blessed and fortunate to have a partnership with the Dumfries Town Council. Although the Town Council does not run the government of the schools, it is actively within your jurisdiction. And so I think having open dialogue and communication is very important moving forward. I do want to stress, I also want to thank the division who came at the request of Councilwoman Neville back in October, I believe. I was up in Michigan for a wedding, but I heard the presentation on the specialty programs went over very well. So very happy to have that opportunity to be here. Do you want to say, I'm sorry to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Star Gramey. I'm the principal at Dumfries Elementary School, and I'm always so thankful for the council. I know Mary Wood stops by anytime he can, and we're just excited to show off all the great things that that we're doing at Dumfries. Our kids are doing amazing things. So we're really excited about this budget, and we're really excited to share with you some of the things that we are doing and what we are planning to move forward with our school.
Thank you. So we're going to proceed with some slides. Don't want to make this too laborious with going into at length of all this, but and the reason this is still timely, because although the Board of County Supervisors did vote to approve this budget, many people will know that the state of Virginia is still discussing in collaboration to try to finalize a budget. So technically a lot of this stuff is not actually at its conclusion until we have a budget passed down in Richmond. So it is still timely. At this point, normally this budget would all be ready to go and I could say, yay, this is all cement and stone. But this is basically an overview of kind of where we're at right now. So back in the fall, our new superintendent, Dr. McDade, launched her strategic plan called the 2025 Launching Thriving Futures. And so her goal with her strategic plan is to develop a well-rounded profile of a Prince William County graduate, something we've been looking for many years. A number of focuses you'll see as we go through the slides about how these are each broken down and what is kind of included in the budget. When actually I asked all my principals for kind of an idea last couple of weeks of what the budget is going to do, particularly for your school. I will, Principal Granby and a few others actually broke down by the categories of the strategic plan. It was very nice. But anyways, so a couple things. So key thing, we're just under 90,000 students. We are the second largest jurisdiction school system in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I believe the 34th largest in the country. So we have a large system, over 10,000 employees. We are the largest employer in Prince William County. So this is a big deal, $1.3 billion budget. I will highlight in this right now is a big thing that we are doing, of course, as a couple of you have recognized that this is Teacher Appreciation Month. I'm a former teacher, but I've been out of the classroom for a number of years. So I always put that disclaimer when I say, I know how it's like. I don't anymore. We were just rolling out smart boards when I was kind of starting, phasing out the overhead projectors. But I was a teacher. My wife is still an active teacher at Forest Park High School, which is the boundary for Dumfries students to go to high school, their base school, and has taught a number of students from Dumfries proper. But do want to thank the teachers for Teacher Appreciation Month. And one way is definitely providing a 7% average employee pay increase. I believe this is the largest in the region. Of course, our goal is to attract, but we also want to make sure retention is a huge focus right now, especially with what we're seeing across the board nationwide with shortages of not only bus drivers, but teachers, cafeteria workers, all across the board. So, we're focusing and targeting on that with that 7% employee pay increase. And of course, the teacher salary scale has been adjusted and the bands have changed. So a teacher who's kind of more in their middle career at this point is going to be making actually even more with the adjustment of the pay scale than a 7%. So there's definitely things coming in the budget, good things, and that change of scales also to attract more new teachers to come to our county, because right now competing with some of our neighbors, the teachers do actually make more a starting salary in, say, a neighbor to the north of Fairfax County. So we want to make sure we're competitive in that area. Teachers actually top out at the highest 30 plus years in Prince William County. We have the highest, but that's a lot of years to be teaching in the classroom to reach that point. So we want to try to accelerate that as much as possible. Next slide, please. Okay, so one of the core tenets of the strategic plan is learning and achievement for all. So our goal, commitment, obviously, is to provide academic excellence for all students of Prince William County. Go ahead. And so these are just some highlights of what that actually entails or what that means. I'm not going to read this verbatim, but I just kind of want to give you an idea of what high level things. This is obviously not the entire budget, but these are kind of things that Dr. McDade and her team highlighted in the presentation of this basically presentation to the board. The next area of focus is positive climate and culture. So again, we are obviously trying to make this definitely more looking at it like a customer service approach from what product basically we put out on the market, which are our students, whether they go into the military, post-secondary, a trade, skill set. Our goal is again to have a positive, supportive, safe environment for teaching and learning, and of course support and facilitate this academic journey wherever they go, whatever pathway they so may choose. You'll see in the previous slide, it did highlight that we are hiring more counselors, career counselors. Some of the high schools already have them right now, but not everyone. So that extra FTE will enable high schools who don't have one already to have it. And ones who already do have it can use that FTE how they choose and maybe just add another counselor to reduce those caseloads, which are a key thing that we're focusing on, at least this board has over the last 6 years. Again, some more highlights of what this actually means. We are adding 30 security assistants. School safety is a huge priority, especially if we've been following the news and certain things that have been happening. So every middle and high school will be receiving an added security assistant in the building. There is, a shortage right now with police officers on the market. And so we are doing our best to have a full-time SRO in every one of our secondary buildings. But that is also a nature of the job market right now, and prioritizing from a police department standpoint where their officers need to be. So that is definitely something we are working on as we continue to progress through this. We are having a presentation actually on changes to the code of behavior. So the student discipline support positions, that's a thing to highlight there. And all of our schools are now getting the funds to roll out the No Place for Hate programs in their various buildings. They're all at different stages right now in forming committees and such, but that is a program that we will be supporting. The nurses, making sure we have the bandwidth, that is another very tough position to fill, especially after not after, but we're in the middle still of a pandemic, but filling that position, that is a lot of work and responsibility on our nurses to document infections and close contacts and all that other stuff that they have to do right now during the pandemic. Next slide, please. Family and community engagement, another high-level tenet of what we're trying to do and build partnerships with our community. Big reason I'm here today, to continue building partnerships with our community. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Councilwoman Neville and her great opening this weekend of her literacy program. Again, a highlight of a potential future family and community engagement. If you're having tutoring programs or classes on parenting and stuff like that, these are the things that we're looking to build, not just from a division-wide, but partnerships with the individual schools as well. And that's something that we'll continue to explore. We're always looking for community partnerships. We have Spark, which is our foundation and the program for our partnerships to go through and give scholarships for students, things like that, provide financial assistance for other programs like tutoring and such. Again, a couple of this highlights there. Principal Granby is going to talk when we get to her slides about like a parent liaison and what that entails from a building standpoint, and how that's definitely something that helps a building like Dumfries or any other building that may need something like that. But that's just a high level. The $0.2 million for transportation liaisons, I'm not going to try to hide the fact that busing has not been a struggle this year, of course, transportation, but again, a nature of the economy that we're in. We are, like every division nationwide, facing a shortage of bus drivers, which has resulted in bus drivers taking, double runs or multiple runs and stuff like that. And so we've faced issues like with the app tracking the bus and having it accurate when it arrives, or things like that. Late buses picking kids up very late into the afternoons. We are aware of that. And of course, we are trying to recruit more bus drivers and incentivize coming to work at Prince William County Schools. Like I said, the 7% pay increase across the board, trying to, again, be competitive with our neighbors who, again, are doing the same thing that we're doing, and trying to poach bus drivers from neighboring and surrounding systems to come work for our school system. So these transportation liaisons will be helpful. Right now our staff there is doing as best best as they can, taking calls from parents, inbound calls, or having to call parents when a bus driver changes. These additional positions will help facilitate better communication between both sides, families, and the school system on things like, the late buses or delays, or potentially we've had, my own family has had a call. Both my sons get a bus, of course, and we found out that there is no bus driver. And so they have to get to school somehow. We've been fortunate, we've been able to work it out. But these are things that we're still working through as a school system with something as large as our division, trying to make sure, again, the transportation is worked out to the best of its ability. Organizational coherence, that has a lot to do, we often say of chain of command in the school system and how things are organized to align. Some of you have probably seen that some of the position titles have changed, from a associate superintendent of finance to more of a CFO, things like that, in a structure of an organization of our size, and making sure the right people are underneath, and that kind of that coherently goes back to the flow of the superintendent and her office from a management standpoint and a communication standpoint. I do respect what Dr. McDade is trying to do. We are looking at a complete culture change, really, if we think about it, from having a superintendent unprecedented stay for 16 plus years, which is almost unheard of nowadays. So you have a system that she is inheriting and trying to work through, but also bring her own kind of processes and programs and systems in place. So we're still going through that organizational coherence and what she's trying to structure the system like. Again, kind of just a breakdown that goes to that 7% pay increase. As I mentioned, the salary adjustments, that's a $20 million investment. We are adding more assistant principals. So some buildings that may be a complete new position, or other buildings. I was at one of my middle schools, not Grant Park, but another one, and he was saying this additional funding will allow him to make his administrator on assignment an actual full AP. And what that does is allows that person to have more responsibility, which they don't have as an administrator on assignment, like be the only one in a building for after school events. That may seem like something kind of, not as monumental, but when you think of bandwidth from a administrative standpoint, that's a huge thing to make sure our principals do have lives and have some time with their families. They're doing a lot of work right now during this pandemic, and we're very fortunate to have some outstanding principals in our division because, I went and got my master's to be one, and I look back and now and I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. It's a lot of responsibility on their shoulders, so we're very thankful for the principals we have in the Potomac district, like Principal Granby, and then all the principals we have division-wide. And just go ahead and jump to the next one. I don't know what happened there. I apologize. So this is just a kind of a breakdown of that timeline. We're basically there. Clearly, we're past April. I guess the one caveat is that we don't have the state has approved the budget yet. So when I first started giving this presentation without some modifications, we were all the way in February, and I could say, well, we got this step and this step and this step. The good news is we had it passed through the Board of County Supervisors with our partnership up there and the leadership of Chairman Wheeler and her team to pass this budget, a very robust budget to pay for the funding to do all these great things that we're doing across the board. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Principal Granby.
All right, I'm excited because talking about Dumfries is one of my favorite things to do. Just some overview. We have about an operating budget of about $5.4 million, and about 95% of that goes to our staffing. Staffing is really important. I've always been told, value the people over the things, and so we try to put as much money as we can into hiring high quality teachers and staff to support our students. We have about 440 students this year. We're bursting a little bit at the seams, but that's okay. We're excited because we're there to teach every student that we have. A couple highlights from the new budget that impact us are we're going to have 4 full-time kindergarten teacher assistants next year. We have 2 right now. So if they are sharing, they're only in a room half a day. So for our kindergarten to have a TA in their room every day is going to make a huge difference because they're instructional assistants. They're not teacher assistants. They're in there, they're meeting with students. They're teaching students the letters and sounds. They're still tying shoes and helping with bathroom issues, but they're really providing that second layer of academic instruction for our students. So we're very excited about having those two new assistants on board. We are also going to have an additional special education teacher assistant. We have 2 autism programs at Dumfries, and I can't tell you how hard the folks in those rooms work. Our teachers are amazing. Our teacher assistants in the room are amazing. And we have some temporary teacher assistants. And so to be able to move them from a temporary position to a permanent TA position that comes with benefits, that's a full-time position, it's just really monumental in retaining the staff that we have in our autism rooms, which is really important for the consistency for our students in the classroom. The past few years, we have only been funded for a half-time technology teacher. And the way Prince William does that is if you have less than 500 students, you only get funded for a half-time of a teacher. So we have had to actually pay the other half to have a full-time teacher in the building, which has taken a lot out of our flex funding budget. But with one-to-one technology, with all the new smart boards, with the Canvas learning management system, all the things that we're using at the school, it was imperative that we have that full-time technology teacher that can go in and support our teachers with learning the new systems, teaching the students, and just getting our students to a high level of digital knowledge. So that money really helps us because that frees up some money in our budget that we can use for other things. So we're really thankful for Dr. McDade for prioritizing a technology teacher for every school, no matter what your size is. Most important, we have a new parent liaison, and I can't tell you, she is life-changing. We've already hired her. She is amazing. We've already seen an impact. So if you haven't met her, her name is Francia Salguero. She is very much involved in the community, but she is bilingual, which is helping us reach a whole other side of our staff, our families, and our students. She translates every document for us. She's able to make calls and connect with the community. Today, we had a whole bunch of parents bringing in food to celebrate our teachers today. So we had pupusas and we had fajitas. It was fantastic. And the staff was really excited. She's already reaching out and making those connections. We had over 50 parents show up for field day the Friday before spring break, just because she's been able to reach out and really help us build those bridges with the community. So we're really excited. That's a really important position. On the other side of that, she's able to really help. We've had families come in and just help. There's so much technology. Everything's an app, the bus app, the parent view app, everything. So she often meets with families, sits down, and kind of just shows them how to go through all those technology programs that we have as a school system, making sure that every parent in our community has equal access to our information that we're putting out there. So we're really excited about that. And what's big for us is we are a small school. We're one of the smallest schools in Prince William County. So, and she recognized that with a smaller school, we have a smaller budget, and sometimes we have to make tough decisions. And so Dr. McDade understood that and gave schools a small school supplement. So we have about $98,000, which is how much you can fund for a full-time teacher. So we have a little bit of flexibility about how we're going to put that in our budget. So next slide, please. So speaking of those tenants, this is what we're using our small school funds. We went back to our continuous improvement plan at Dumfries and looked at where's the need. COVID hit us hard. The pandemic hit us hard. Virtual learning had its benefits, but we also know that it had some impact on our students, especially with their learning and their social emotional and their interactions with each other. So our leadership team got together and really talked about how can we make the best impact for our students next year. And what we did with that small school money is we added in a math specialist. So instead of having one math specialist this year, we're actually gonna have a math coach, which came with grant funded money, but we're adding in a third math person, which is a math specialist. And that's really gonna support our teachers with planning and delivery of math, but it's also going to be providing extra supports to the students who need extra support in math, but also providing some extension opportunities, because we can't forget, we're really trying to boost our number of students that are in the gifted education program over here at Dumfries. So we're excited to have a math teacher that can provide some of those higher level thinking, critical thinking opportunities for our students as well. And then for positive culture and climate, we've definitely seen an impact on the social emotional just wellness of our students and how they're interacting. There was a lot of isolation and coming back. And so right now we have one full-time counselor and we have a part-time counselor who comes 2 days. And we really felt it was really important to put that money into hiring a second full-time counselor so that we had 2 full-time counselors on staff every day that can not only support teachers, but can support students and can support families. So we have hired a very high qualified counselor that's gonna, from another Prince William County school. She knows the system, she knows the students, she knows the area, and she's going to come down and really support us next year. So we're really excited about that. Okay.
Thank you.
again, I cannot thank Principal Granby enough. The change in culture that she has already brought to Dumfries is phenomenal. You'll see the previous picture had me holding up a Dumfries Dragon t-shirt, and that's symbolic because a lot of schools, have, more PTCOs and affluency where they can raise thousands of dollars. So if you go to a school, I'm not going to name names, but if you go to X school, every kid gets a t-shirt on their first day, or maybe even multiple shirts throughout the year. This is the first time that I can remember that Principal Granby, every kid at Dumfries received that t-shirt. So that was just really impressed. And the school spirit, I've always said we need to bring the dragon back. So I'm excited about that. And I also want to commend Dr. McDade because, we mentioned about the small schools. I think there's only two others, maybe one other school as small as Dumfries. And this concerted focus when she came on, a couple of things she asked, prioritization and stuff like that. And one of the things I talked about is some of our small schools, and Principal Granby was an advocate for her school and was in my ear, which I'm very happy when principals do that. They're not afraid to come to me and be very transparent with me, but provide some additional funding for X, Y, and Z. It's been great over the years. Yes, I finally thank you for your approval, but Dumfries finally got the Megatron sign in the front after all these years. But, the aesthetics is only one aspect of a school, and what is happening inside the halls of Dumfries is phenomenal. So thank you, Principal Granby, for that. It's just remarkable, the change and, happy faces in the kids that I see there. The other school is Graham Park, as you know, in your district. So a little bit about this. So in our CIP, the Capital Improvement Project plan, schools typically have a renovation every 25 years. And, there has been, over my time on the board, there's been things that I've noticed about while being on the board at Grant Park, things like the air conditioning unit, things like that. You'd be there in the summer for back to school night, and it was completely muggy inside the building, and it just unbelievable, almost unbearable. And to think, that we had to wait 25 years for that. It is the process, and every year at the budget markup, I would symbolically put Grant Park up to bump up a year, and it was voted down every year 7-1. But again, understanding from the standpoint of my colleagues, if you bump up one school, another one has to go back, so they're constituents. But long story short, we are now at a point where a lot of the renovations are being done at Grant Park, and not to go through again the full timeline, but what you can see there is kind of like an itemized breakdown of what is being done at Grant Park. I mentioned, the air circulation and the air conditioning, and that specifically, that's a huge focus up there, and the cost that's going into that building right now to better support, the infrastructure for those students, because we're talking about a positive culture and climate, being in a room where either it's cold during the winter or it's extremely hot and humid during the warmer months, like now going into the next couple of weeks and starting in the fall. That makes it very hard to have, really an equitable place of learning to some other infrastructures that we might have in our school division. Next slide, please. And so another thing I do want to highlight is a project that's been in the works for a number of years. So, Grant Park is one of our older buildings when it comes to middle schools in at least this side of the county. And with that being said, there are some things that need to be done for the students and the building on the outside. So this is a model of what we call a fenestration project, and it's only one component of what's going to be happening with the beautification and the changes in Grant Park. We know the benefits of natural lighting and what that does for students and such. And so as you see the front facade of the building, if anyone kind of remembers, Grant Park right now, not a lot of window space, but this is going to kind of like what's already been done at Ripon Middle School a little bit further up the road on Route 1. It's going to go through this process, and this is like a 2 to 3 year plan of what we're rolling out. So this is just a mock-up of that fenestration project that is coming to Grand Park. I would have asked the principal of Grand Park to also join us, but for those who don't know, is Principal Ramadan did get a promotion in a neighboring school district. So she is no longer the principal of Grand Park. Right now, I believe Principal Walker and some of the other APs and an interim is there as we go through the hiring process to get a full-time principal in place at Grand Park. And I think that is the presentation.
All right, thank you both, Mr. Wilkes and Principal Granby. I think it's important, the work that you are doing over there, Principal Granby, because we know that children thrive in atmospheres where they feel appreciated and prioritized. So thank you for what you're doing. Council, I'd like to open it up for any comments from you all, starting with Councilman Fields.
Yes, thank you so much for a great presentation. Well, I don't want to seem like I was being rude when I was whispering something to Council Lady Neville, but it was something positive, I believe. If by chance, I may be overstepping, and I usually do when I open my mouth and don't confer with the town manager about it. But if by chance you run into any trouble next year, I want to put in a motion now for the town of Dumfries to pay for the t-shirts next year. I just want to put that idea out there so we can start working on it. Hint, hint, town manager. So that no child will be left without a t-shirt. I believe we can afford that here from the town of Dumfries. So I want to put that in motion. That's what we're talking about. Like I said, I want to be rude, but it hit me. I had to tell somebody real quick. At least get one nod, you know what I mean?
We would love that. We're actually planning a t-shirt design contest for our students to kind of design and have some input on what those designs would look like for next year. So that would be really awesome. Thank you.
I think we can handle it.
We don't want your money. I'm just.
So it's out there. We'll revisit it later, I'm quite sure. See if we can make that happen. Next, oh my goodness, it's great to see you all and great that we're doing great things with the school system. Teachers mean a lot. I can remember one teacher that told me something that just turned me around in elementary school. And back then, elementary was 1 to 7. We just happened to have 2 different elementary schools, K to 3 and then 4 to 7 in a rural county, Dinwiddie. But it turned me around. And, teachers do mean a lot. And it was my goal to prove her wrong. Love her to death, but it was my goal to say, nah, Miss, I ain't gonna call the name, but Miss so-and-so, I can do better than that. But that's the drive that and the appreciation that teachers bring to our students. And one more thing I want to point out to some of our parents that may be listening, and Justin, thank you for the you mentioned something on one of the Facebook posts. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I'll see you this evening. Uniquely, our town is split into another jurisdiction that some of our kids that are actually in the town limits and another Port of Dumfries, they actually go to Triangle Elementary School, correct?
So it's 3, because my kid goes to Swans Creek, so we're split 3 ways.
Oh, we split 3 ways. Okay. So I'm quite sure some of the same initiatives are going on in those other schools as well. I do remember when I was police officer in town, I visited the Dumfries Elementary School quite often. Like it was a weekly thing for me to do that. So I gotta try to get back into that from this capacity. So I happened to do that school and Triangle Elementary School as a police officer in this town. So I didn't know about Swans Creek. That's up on the other end of the, it's making our town look so big now, right? So, so thank you so much. I'm really excited to hear from you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Neville.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. My microphone, that might help. So good segue from Councilman Fields. One of my questions was going to be, how can we help you? What can we do for you?
I'm gonna let you go from the school level if you want. Go.
I think right now we're just trying to build a bridge right now to help get information out to the community, to help them know. Like one thing people don't know is Dumfries is a central based summer school site. So actually all the students from Triangle and I think North Mary Williams and Dumfries are going to summer school, but we're having a hard time getting enough students registered. So things like that to kind of just help disseminate that information to the community. I love the field day event that you all let us know about, because we're really just trying to bring the community back together with the past 2 years of isolation, trying to get everyone together to really figure out what the needs are of the community. I believe that we shouldn't assume what everyone needs. And so we're trying to listen. We're trying to talk to as many people as we can to see where the need is, because we realize that we're not just providing academic supports over here at Dumfries. We're also trying to fill that need with the community, but so are you. So we kind of just want to help right now build that bridge so that we can kind of listen and see what everyone needs, so that we together, I think you all have so many resources, as do we, and I think together we can be a powerhouse. So that's where I think we could come together and really see what does our community need so that we can provide it for everyone.
Thank you. And I think from a division-wide standpoint, I think, one of the goals is fostering a partnership between my office, which I don't really have an office. I have a clerk, an assistant clerk, and a scheduler. They're great. But between my office and your team collectively, I think it's great. Councilwoman Neville asked about the specialty programs, and we were able to put something together. So, various topics each year, we can go through that, or something that, is on your mind, or, just again, various things. I mean, middle school specialty programs is a whole nother one. When that principal comes on board at Grant Park, that might be something to consider. I'm not volunteering them for that, but again, looking at that from that perspective, I know Grant Park, if we're looking at, we spoke about Dumfries, Grant Park has a lot of mentoring programs and such. They are a school of math and science. That is their middle school specialty program. They do things, career days, or they do other programs and such. So volunteering in the schools or something like that could be very nice. And just, helping out, I remember, when we were in the height of, I guess we'll say, the pandemic, when a number of our kids were still virtual, but I went in and subbed for a day. It's an experience, if you wanted to go in and see what it's like, to be a teacher for a day, at least, work cafeteria duty, sign up in the front, you just go through the Raptor thing and you go through and you get processed and you can help. So we're always looking for volunteers, whether it be in the media center or stuff like that, that would be very helpful. Swans Creek has gone all year without a media center person. They just haven't been able to fill the position. So good example of, a parent, if they wanted to do something like that, or volunteer in the schools and such like that. That can I answer your question?
And I'd like to commend you, Mr. Wilk. It's refreshing to have someone, you haven't taught during the pandemic, but, to have a teacher in your position is very refreshing. Thank you. And thank you for taking the time to come out. And even when you couldn't make it, you made sure the town of Dumfries got the information we needed so that our children and our families, our village, would be aware of the specialty program opportunities. And I hope they took advantage of that. So I'd like to thank you for that. Also, just getting back to Dumfries Elementary School, it would be nice, we're here, you're there. It would be nice to see town managers here, a formal partnership, formal MOU, because sometimes if things are coming up, like the library will have a read-in, they did a virtual readathon, some of us participated in last year, and they reached out and let us know. But I think if we had some kind of a formal MOU, a formal partnership established, where we could be aware, about our field day, there's Stop the Violence community event coming up. There's also Juneteenth parade we do annually. And I think it would be good to know, when my son attended Swans Creek, they had field day, and I have old throwback pictures of us at his field day. I'm volunteering at the school, just to be aware, because now my son is about to turn 23, so I don't know what's going on all the time, but I definitely like to come help out, and I'm sure some others would as well. And that's also to echo Councilman Field's sentiments. I'd like to see that reflected in our budget in the future. We just passed the budget, but in the future, I think we could form a formal partnership of some sort and see how we can definitely be more of an assistance to you all as we educate our children. So I think that would be something wonderful to look into, even if right now there is no fiscal impact on it, but just some written MOU that we could grow upon in the future. So I am glad to see updates coming to Grand Park Middle School. I actually did my student teaching there back in, I think it was 2004. So I look forward to seeing the updates whenever that is done. But that's a long time. It's been a long time coming. So I'm glad to hear about that. I look forward to seeing the finished product. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. May I add to that? Our leadership team met last Thursday and we are establishing our goals for next school year. And one of our top goals going with a strategic plan of family engagement and community engagement is to create a meaningful partnership with someone to help us achieve our goals within our plan. So when you just bring that up, it kind of makes my heart smile because that's exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for a partner that can really help us with those programs, with us supporting the mentoring, with supporting our families with attendance and knowledge so that we can build that community at our school. So we would absolutely embrace that and welcome that. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Pete.
The Councilman Fields, I would definitely like to support that. And Councilman Neville of partnering up with the Dumfries Elementary, Mr. Pete's big with the kids. So I would definitely love to see something like that. And if we can get that moving forward. Second, I want to say thank you and how awesome it is to have Mr. Wilkes, Mrs. Grandy, Dr. McDay, let's get it correct, Dr. McDay, Andrea Bailey, representing our end in the school system. I've been to several meetings up at the school board. You do an excellent job. We go back from waiting your dad, your brother playing basketball, and even just to, say thank you to you all of the changes that we've seen. I'm pretty sure we can all say the same thing in our elementary school and some of the, like you were saying, in Grand Park, from who were there before you to where we're at now. I really want to say thank you guys. And also in doing this with something that you mentioned of, Mr. Wilkes, of a culture change and a pandemic situation, shortages of teachers and staffing and school bus. And I'm big with the after school programs because that's my side of the fence, like recreational. So, and even going through those walls, you guys have still found a way to overcome and get through them and still pull out excellence in some areas. So I just want to say thank you all for that. And especially I understand what you're saying about looking at another school and then we go to Grand Park and see the school. But then we go somewhere else and we see the school. So I just want to say thank you all for the work that you've been putting in. I'm pretty sure you'll see a lot of us interact with you guys and try to do some things to help these children and the community move forward in a positive direction. And again, I can't say a better personnel or group to have of that chain line than you guys that are here right now. And I thank you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate those kind words.
All right, thank you, council. And again, thank you all for being here. It's SOL time too, isn't it?
It is 5th grade's taking their reading SOL tomorrow.
Yes. I have a 3rd grader that is embarking on SOLs in the upcoming weeks. And I think I'm probably more nervous than he is. But again, to mirror everyone's sentiment, thank you all for what you do, your communication, your dedication, and your engagement. We appreciate it. All right.
Thank you for
If there are
having
no
us.
other questions. All right, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to try one more time with the approval of the meeting minutes from last week. So earlier, when I skimmed over it on the agenda, we had a motion to approve and it was second, but I did not call for the vote. So we have to go back through that process and call for the vote. So do we need to just start from there or do we need to start? Okay, so in calling for the vote to approve the motion, the meeting minutes. Okay, so Councilman Fields. Councilwoman Neville.
Aye.
Councilman Pete.
It's a yes for me.
And it's a yes for me. The meeting minutes are approved for last week. Thank you. Well, the last meeting, yeah. And it was last week because it was a special date. Okay. Like I need to be confused anymore. Thank you. Okay, continuing on with the agenda. So the special added item, the ordinance. So next, town manager, please discuss for us the introductory item ordinance to authorizing the town manager to enter into a lease agreement of town-owned office space located here at 1773-9 Main Street.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yes, that is the ordinance, and what we are looking for a motion for council is to schedule a public hearing on that ordinance for May the 17th.
Okay, council, can we get a motion for a public hearing?
Motion.
It's been motioned by Councilman Pete,
Second.
second by Councilwoman
Third
Neville. All right, let's call for the vote. Councilman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman Neville,
Aye.
Councilman Pete.
Yes.
It's a yes for me as well. Motion passed. All right, we are moving through this. Okay, next we will do closed session. All right, whereas the town council of the town of Dumfries desires to discuss in closed meeting the following matter. One matter of consideration of prospective candidate for recommendation for reappointment to the Board of Zoning Appeals via Code 2.2-3711.A.1, whereas pursuant to VA Code 2.2-3711.A.1, such discussions may occur in closed meeting. Now therefore it be resolved that the town council of the town of Dumfries does hereby authorize discussion of the aforementioned matter in closed meeting. All right, we're going into closed session. Okay. All right, so I'd like to certify that only matters requiring closed session were discussed during closed session. And now we need a motion to approve.
So move.
Second. And calling for the vote. Councilman Pete,
Yes.
Councilwoman Neville,
Aye.
Councilman Fields,
Yes.
and that's a yes for me as well. Okay, and from closed session, we come out with a recommendation that through the circuit court, Mr. Borza be appointed to the BZA.
Second.
All right, calling for the vote. Councilman Pete,
Yes.
Councilwoman Neville,
Aye.
and Councilman Fields.
Yes.
And it's a yes for me. All right, meeting adjourned.